means that,
Oh, there you go.
I guess we're on. All right.
Where's your card, Liz?
So if everybody would mute themselves, I will. And Dolores, welcome. We see that you're off camera, but if you could mute also. On behalf of myself, Liz Nichols, Dana Sherry, and Sally Holtzman, we welcome you to the Contra Costa Tail Spinners June swap meeting. And please do stay muted during the time, unless you're the storyteller. And with that, I am going to turn things over to Dana, who's going to be emceeing for us tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Liz, and thank you again for serving as our tech host tonight. So tonight we are delighted to welcome culture bearer Alicia Reddies to us, and she shares with the community in so many different ways. So her multicultural companion plants and corn husk dolls are on exhibit now at the Museum of the American Indian at Miwok Park in Novato. She continues to enrich communities across the Greater Bay Area, from schools, libraries, and gardens to special events with her colorful plant puppet show characters who share the indigenous American traditional art of permaculture. Alicia delves into many creative mediums, including handcrafting distinctly unique abalone and feather earrings, which are on display at the Hummingbird Crystal Store in Fairfax, California, the Rainbow Dragon Gallery in Kihei, and at Mitchell's Women Clothing in Taos, New Mexico. And of course, she's also a storyteller. So she is a Mayo Yaqui descendant and is a captivating storyteller who fully embraces the character, the spirit, the movement, and sounds of the animal people in her interactive indigenous tales of tricksters and shapeshifters. Alicia is exploring creative projects reflecting the cultural arts of Sonora and Sinaloa. And tonight she shares her adaptation of Two Bears, an original Yoeme Yaqui legend recorded by Ruth Warner Giddings' Yaqui Myths and Legends. And Alicia adds a surprising twist to the story of love, betrayal, and redemption. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. So good to be here. At 5 years old, my father insisted that I memorize my full name and to introduce myself formally. At first I thought, okay, everybody's got like 1, 2, maybe 3 names. I have 13. And my father was actually sharing his culture and letting me understand my whole family tree, an oral tradition of about 4 or 5 generations. And so I introduce myself formally to you now. As soon as I take off this okay about recording, thank you. Huh. Change it to gallery 2. I beg your pardon. That's better. I can see you. I am Alicia Mary Teresa de las Flores Retes Johns Tupete Smith Almava Wilson Ibera Snow Stone a sus órdenes. At your service. My 4th, 5th great grandmother was full-blooded Cherokee, but most of my indigenous bloodline comes from the Yoremi, commonly known as the Mayo, and Yoemi, commonly known as the Yaqui. And they're pretty much actually cousins. My father's lineage comes from Huatabampo in Sonora, Mexico. It's a ceremonial Mayo town. And they all are farmers and artists and so forth. This story comes from the Yaqui people, and the word Yaqui means the people with a voice of authority. The Ioemi means people who follow their ancestors. And on warm evenings, the people sit outside at the foothills of the Bacatati Mountains by the sacred Yaqui River. They would see a shooting star, and an elder might say, Huate hako, recuerdos cuando, do you remember when? And a story would begin. This one of two young orphan brothers who learned to navigate in their own territories, but with multiple nations. The Europeans, French, Hungarian, and Spanish, of course, and the Mexicans, which are basically Indio with Europeans, the Chinese and the Americans. And they all came crushing their heels with civilization. Now, they grow corn, bean, and squash traditionally, but with the invasion, if you will, of all these different nations, it disrupted their traditional way. So they mostly made a living by performing at fiestas. A fiesta, this means a happy, joyful celebration. It can go on for a day or for days, and there's music and dancing and games and just sports and all sorts of great things. Now, these two brothers, the youngest brother is Anoki Ichi. Anoki Ichi has a slender build. He has a pencil-thin mustache. He's rather charming and enterprising, but a little devious and self-serving. His brother, Bali Ichi, is strong body, has a good heart, and a trusting soul. And they loved each other dearly. And ever since their parents were killed in a village raid, they were inseparable. One crisp morning, they were on their way to a fiesta through the woods when they saw a bear in the crook of a tree right along their path. And they thought, well, we'll sit here and eat our fish tacos for a bit, but the bear didn't move. And then they made an offering, but the bear didn't seem to acknowledge that there was anything there. It just was frozen in the tree. And Anoki Ichi said, you know, older brother, Bali Ichi, this is interesting. Maybe the bear cannot smell. Take this burrito, climb up the other tree, and toss it to the bear so he can see it and he can eat it. Pasuka in Nipo. ¿Por qué? Why me? Oh, older brother. you have a way with the animals. Maybe first maybe you talk to them. Talk to the bears. Well, yes, sure. Our mother, curandera, medicine woman, you knew her. She made you have this special thing with the bear. So why don't you talk to the bear? Okay. What language the bear would speak? I try you. Leo so. But there was no response. So he tried Spanish. Hola, señor oso, ¿cómo estás? Still, the bear did not respond. Neither did the birds, for that matter. So then he thought, well, I will try it in English. Hey there, Mr. Bear, how you doing? And still, there was no answer. Very interesting, Bali Ichi. So, okay. I think maybe the bear cannot hear. So take the burrito now, climb on him, and toss it to the bear so he will eat it. Against his better judgment, Bali Ichi started to climb. Well, first he said, ¿Por qué yo? Why me? Oh, Balichi, you are much stronger than me. And besides, you must protect me. I am the younger brother. Balichi climbed up and he scooted along the branch and he carefully aimed and he tossed the burrito. And it landed on the bear's head. Yeah, he beamed the bear. And the bear did not move, but Balichi was a little too far on the bend and he fumbled and he fell down to the ground and he came back to his brother. And they thought about this some more. Oh, Balichi, this is very curious, no? I think maybe we should go investigate this bear. Okay, let's do that. So the two brothers carefully came out of their bushes where they felt safe and they came up to the bear. Now, Baliichi was in front and Anoki was behind him. And Anoki-ichi said, you know, you should poke the bear with your walking stick. That will make him wake up, huh? Reluctantly, Baliichi took his walking stick and he poked the bear. Oh, the bear tumbled down and it fell down on its back, arms and legs in the air, frozen stiff. Now, upon closer examination, they saw a wound in his chest where an arrow had struck him and where the bear had bled out. Baliichi, this is a gift. I think this is a gift. I think we should skin the bear very, very carefully so we keep the fur very nice. Ah, yes, okay, this is good. But first we must bless the bear. So Baliichi reached into his cotton pants and he pulled out some marigolds and he sprinkled it around the bear, saying, Leo Shin Shamanabu, may Creator bless you. And then they skinned the animal very carefully and they salted it and they stuffed the arms and torso with grass and they stood the bear up. And they let it stay there for a couple of days. They camped in the woods and they were cozy in their hammocks with their lamb's wool blankets. They snared a rabbit. They did just fine. After a couple of days, they came back and it was still standing. So they unstuffed it and the bear maintained its shape. Balichi, just this is a gift. Do you know what? You should get into the bear skin, huh? You get into the bear skin and then you dance like a bear. We go to the fiestas. We make more money with a dancing bear, huh? Most people, they have to train the bear, but you could dance this way. Pusuka inipo, porque why me? Oh, Palich, you're a better dancer than me. So let's try it out. Given their circumstances, Balichi thought, all right. So he put his foot in and he got his arms in. He tied the leather ties and he put the bear mask in front, his head over his face. He started moving like a bear. Now, he could see his reflection in a nearby pond, and so he was really getting into it. His brother was quite impressed with this. Balichi, you look just like a bear. And with that, Anoki-ichi, the younger brother, took a red bandana and tied it around Baliichi's bare neck, and got a rawhide rope, tied it around Baliichi's neck, and held it in one hand, got a stick in the other, and off they went to the fiestas. And they did quite well. Very good indeed. Now, one day they danced for un rico patron, a rich landowner. And the bear was dancing. And the owner's daughter, Marta, she's very pretty. Marta liked the bear, the way he danced. So Patron threw money at the bear, and the bear caught it and gave it to his owner, and everything was hunky-dory. It was just totally great. And they started to leave when the owner had decided he had to have that bear. He said, "Hey, how much do you want for that dancing bear? I pay you no matter the cost." Oh, no, patron. No. I could not sell my bear. No. You see, I've raised him since he was very little, and he earns me my living. No, I couldn't sell my bear. No. Listen, I will give to you a cart of gold and silver. And you may take my daughter Marta, the most beautiful woman in the world, no? Oh, well, just, she's so nice, so pretty, but no. Should you give me a whole house full of gold and silver and 2 women? No. I couldn't sell my bear. Listen, I can see you're very fond of the bear. But he's only a bear, huh? I offered you a way out of your poverty, huh? Think about it. Camarón que se duerme. Ay. The fish that lingers in the current is drifted off. If you snooze, you lose, was the saying that he was providing. Listen, you take this money and you're gonna be so rich, you never have to work again, huh? You can have anything you want, and you get the most beautiful woman in the world. So Anoki Ichi went over to his brother the bear. "Oh, Aliichi, what do you think, huh? Should I leave you?" His brother the bear put his arms on the shoulders of his younger brother and whispered, "Brother, little brother, don't do this to me. Don't sell me." But Anoki Ichi heard the cart of gold and silver coming and clanging, and Anoki Ichi wiggled out of his brother's embrace. He took the cart of gold and silver, and he took the woman, and he left. He walked away from his brother. He sold his only brother. When Abaliichi couldn't do much, he knew that this evil patron, this malicious patron, he would kill them both if he revealed who he really was. So they put Baliichi the bear into a corral where there was another bear. And this bear was really big. Baliichi was pretty afraid. And the bear, he sniffed the air and he got up and he moved over to Baliichi and he raised his arms as if he was going to attack. But you see, this bear was also very afraid because he too was a man in disguise. They did not know this. And as they approached each other, they're saying their prayers, "Oh, Dios mío." And they heard each other speaking. "Hey, you're a man? Yeah. Fausto. Okay, Fausto, listen. We must continue to act like bears, and so Patron would think we're really animals, okay? Okay. So they tussled, and they hugged each other, and they rolled on the earth and everything else. Sure enough, El Patron was quite satisfied. Those are bears, and he left them alone. Well, this went on for several days. They were wrestling with each other, and one fateful day, the Patron was sleeping in his hammock, taking a siesta. And the 2 bears were sitting like, it's so hot. It's so very hot in here. I'm going to take my mask head off and get some fresh air. He took his bear head off. And so the other guy did too. And they commenced to have a peaceful smoke between each other, sharing their stories of what had happened and how they were betrayed. And they were going on and on. When the owner woke up, and when the owner saw that they were men in disguises, he fumbled out of his hammock. He said, "You scoundrels, I will kill the both of you." And he went for his rifle. Well, the 2 men, they hightailed it right over the Carrizo fence. And they ran so fast. Nobody ever caught up with them. They didn't know that. They were so scared. They kept running. And they came across a farm where a little lady was hanging her husband's clothes on the line. And when this lady saw two bears with human heads running, she fainted at the sight of that. And the men, they thought, oh, we must get the clothes. So they took the clothes and saying, pardon, gracias. And they kept running, and they came to where there were a lot of bushes. And the bushes, this was a way to the Yaqui River. So they got on their hands and knees, they stuffed their clean clothes inside of their bear costumes, and they were scraping through, and they came out to the river and they peeled off their suits and they jumped in the water and they cried and they laughed. They began to relax. Shortly, there was a woman in a rickety old cart wearing a black outfit and a straw hat, and she pulled up to a spot that was kind of firm, and the men saw the woman, and so they quickly got dressed. And the woman set up a modest camp, and she started cooking some beans and tortillas. And the men were pretty hungry and curious, so they asked if they could join her. But if those bearskins belong to you, I trade you some food for the bearskins so I can keep warm. But when Bali-Ichi picked up the bearskins, the BO, the stench, the sweat, the dirt, it polluted the air. No, that's okay. It's okay. You can join me anyway. So the three comrades sat together and they began eating. And Bali-Ichi looked at the woman and said, oh, how is it that you are traveling with such meager belongings? Oh, this is it's a very sad story. My father sold me along with a cart of gold and silver, all for this stupid dancing bear. My husband was Onoki-Ichi, and he had all this money. He bought a fancy ranch, and he had many servants, but all this money was not good enough for him. He became greedy, and he wanted more and more. And so his friends, they're not really his friends, but his friends told him he could make them more money. He could be more rich than any king. But of course, his friends stole his money. They took everything and went away. My husband, he went loco, wandered off into the desert. Oh, I could not stay in that place anymore. No. Bali-Ichi stoked the fire and was looking into her eyes. She looked at him and said, oh, something about you that feels familiar. I am Marta. Oh, and you? I'm Bali-Ichi. I was that dancing bear. My brother, he betrayed me and sold me to your father. I am much ashamed. Can you forgive me? Well, I can see you are nothing like your brother. So just like we can forgive. I forgive, yes, but not forget. Our family fooled us, betrayed us, no? Well, the three of them continued sitting with one another, and Fausto spoke up. He said, so what are we going to do here? We've got to make some more money. There's not enough fish, and we need money. So I play the drums and the violin. What if I do that? And Marta and Bali-Ichi, you two a good couple. You dance and we go to the fiesta. We can make some money, huh? At that moment, a star flew across the sky. And in a ritual of purification and redemption, they burnt the bear hides into smoke. And indeed, they went out and they did many fiestas and they were doing quite well. One day, they saw a bear tied very tightly to a post, and its master was scolding it, saying, tomorrow, you fight the bull, huh? No more this dancing bear. I make more money if you fight the bull. I don't care if you die. And he left. And Poor bear tugged at his red bandana, and he pulled up his mask, revealing a man's chin and a pencil-thin mustache. Story done.
Oh, Alicia, I did not expect that it was going to stop there. Oh, and people say that traditional stories sometimes have predictable endings, but obvious.
I have to confess that, so this story comes from Ruth Giddings' research. She collected it. And in the story, they don't go into all the stuff that I went into. The story ends with they ran off and they never saw each other again. And I went, yeah, but what could have happened? So I made up all the other stuff, and it, I have a good time with it. So I hope all of you enjoyed it too.
No, it
I
was
just remembered, it's camarón que se duerme, se luego la puriente. I just could, switching back and forth. Sometimes I get a little what? So it's an old Mexican saying: the shrimp who sleeps gets carried off by the currents. In other words, you snooze, you lose.
no, it was beautiful the way you wove the languages together. And I think stories are meant to grow, right? I mean,
Yeah,
once you carry them forward, yeah.
clearly. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Lisa, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you again. It was wonderful to hear it. I hope we will hear more, and I know we'll all be imagining what could have happened next. And we have many more stories tonight. And the next one that we will be hearing is from Manjiri, who is still with us here in the Bay Area with The Tiger's Whisker.
Thank you, Dana. My name is Manjiri Gopte. I'm a storyteller. The name of my story is The Tiger's Whiskers. It is a Korean folk tale. Here goes. Yunak was a desperate, lonely wife. Her husband had come back from war, but he just would not respond to her. He would not go with her for a walk, nor would he sing the beautiful love songs that he used to sing for her. And she became extremely worried. She decided to take the counsel of the hermit, the old man who lived up in the mountains. She went to him and told him what had happened. At war, you see a lot of terrible things. You must give him some time. But please, can you make me a magic potion? Give me some medicine to make him better. A love potion, that is difficult. I will require a special ingredient, a white whisker from a white wild tiger. And so saying, he turned away. Yuna started going home. She was feeling very desperate and despondent. How can I get a whisker from a white wild tiger? Is it even possible? She knew they lived up in the Tibet mountains. And so she came home. She continued to clean her house and sing for her husband. She twirled a fan, she danced for him, she made his favorite food, but to no avail. Many weeks passed and months passed. Then she thought, I will try once to go up to the mountains. So she made her famous bibimbap. She mixed the vegetables and the rice and the meat and simmered it on the fire. And then after her husband slept, she went off into the mountains. And over there, she began to sing, Tiger, tiger, eat from the stew so I can take a whisker from you. Tiger, tiger, eat from the stew so I can take a whisker from you. She thought she saw a moment and she dropped the stew. She came running back and she closed the door of the hut. She was so scared. Oh, I can't do this, she thought. She continued to clean her house and sing for her husband. She twirled the fan, she danced for him, she made his favorite food. And this again continued, but again there was absolutely no response from her husband. So she thought, I will try one more time. So she mixed the rice and the vegetables, and this time she smothered the meat with some garlic paste and she put it on the fire. When it was ready, the aroma wafted through the air and she took it out. It was a cold, chilly night and the steam escaped. She went up and she began to sing. Tiger, tiger, eat from the stew so I can take a whisker from you. Tiger, tiger, eat from the stew so I can take a whisker from you. She thought she saw a shadow and with a shriek, out, she ran. She almost tumbled down the mountains and reached her hut. The fear had risen up in her belly and she was petrified. I can't do this. I can't do this, she said. She continued to clean the house, sing for her husband, dance for him, twirled her fan, and tried making all his favorite dishes. But he took a turn for the worse. So she thought, I will go up one more time. She mixed the vegetables and the rice, and she smothered the meat with garlic paste. And this time she cracked open an egg. After her husband slept, she went out in the chilly night. She went up, and a white paw emerged, and there he was, the white wild tiger. He circled round her 3 times, and she offered the stew. And with his pink tongue, he ate up the last morsel. The fear had left her. Tiger, tiger, my hope is in you. Please help me take a whisker from you. I am a desperate, lonely wife. Please help me get my husband to life. She took a thumb and a finger and yanked at the whisker. She saw his nose twitch, and with a shriek, out, she yanked again. And this time she had it, the wiry white whisker. She wanted to thank the tiger, but he had already turned away. And so she went to the holy man's cave and she said jubilantly, I have it, I have it. He looked at her. He took the whisker, he touched it to his tongue, and he flicked it up in the air. It circled 3 times and fell into the fire. What have you done? Do you know what it took? What did it take? It took, but she was speechless. She was lost for words. It took patience, he said, and he turned away. She started going home, and this time there was a smile on her face. She knew what she had to do. She went home, and for many weeks and months, she cleaned her house. She sang for her husband. She twirled her fan. She danced for him, made his favorite food. And one day, there was a sound from the room. So she went inside to see, and she saw her husband was playing his favorite love song for her on the flute. She went and hugged him. He looked at her and smiled, and she smiled back. She knew he was back. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjuri. That's such a beautiful story. And I think it's a good reminder that we all can be hard to be patient. I think it also can be hard to have courage and hope to go through these things. So thank you for calling us all to remember that. So our next story will be from Renu, who will be sharing the lizard song.
Good evening, everyone. I think Bobby's heard this song before, the story and the song. Okay, so this story I found in a book that I bought for my children years ago, and luckily for me, they decided they wouldn't give away their books. So I have all the books still with me, and now as a storyteller, I'm enjoying reading them and telling the stories to children and to adults. So here it goes. A long, long time ago, there was a deep, dark, dense forest. There were tall trees, there were broad trees, there were short trees, there were thin trees. And right in the middle of the forest, there was a huge rock. And on that rock, there lived a lizard. And this lizard was green in color. She had bright black eyes, a long tail, a red tongue, and a tail which had yellow dots on it. And this lizard was no ordinary lizard. She loved to sing and dance, and what was best, she wrote her own lyrics. Now one day, she woke up early in the morning. She loved to dance first thing at sunrise, middle of the day, sunset, and then in the moonlight too. So one morning she woke up because she had written a new song. She started to sing and dance. Ole, 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 rock is my home, rock is my home. Ole, 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 rock is my home, rock is my home. Now, in that forest, in a den, there lived a bear, and he had been hibernating. But one morning he woke up. He stretched himself, and he heard something. Ole, 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 rock is my home, rock is my home. Nice song. I would like to learn that song, he thought to himself, and he went out of the cave and he came to the rock. He said, Lizard, lizard, can you teach me the song? Which song, Bear? Asked Lizard. The one you were singing just now. Ah, okay. And she sang the song for him. But Bear had just woken up and his head was a little muddled up, so he didn't really get the song immediately. So she had to sing that song not just once, not twice, not thrice, not 4 times, 10 times before the bear got it into his head. And then he started to sing, Ole, 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 rock is my home, rock is my home. So busy singing and dancing, he fell into a pond. Splash! And all the ducks that had been swimming in the pond said, quack, 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 and all flew away. And Bear, he was disgusted. He was wet all through. He came out dripping. He shook himself. And by that time, he had forgotten the song. Oh no, I've forgotten the song, he said. And he went back to the lizard and said, Lizard, teach me the song again. This time, Lizard had to sing it 12 times before the bear got it into his head. Once again, the bear set off. Ole, 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 rock is my home, rock is my home. This time, he saw a rabbit hopping around in front of him. He said, Rabbit? And he started running behind the rabbit, this way and that way and this way. And suddenly the rabbit disappeared inside a hole. Oh no, I've lost the rabbit and I've lost the song too. He went back to the rock, but this time the lizard was fast asleep. And Bear didn't want to wake her up. So he picked her up by the tail and put her into his bag and took her to his cave. And he was not very gentle when he was walking. He was swinging this way, that way, and poor little lizard woke up. No sun, no moon. Where am I? It's all dark in here. Ole, 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 rock is my home, rock is my home. Huh? The lizard is awake. Lizard, teach me your song. Ole, 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 ole. What is your home? What is your home? Den is my home. Sing, Bear. Ole, 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 ole. Den is my home, den is my home. And now that Bear was singing about his own house, he didn't forget the song. He remembered it and he continued to sing and dance every single day. All the animals in the forest also learnt about their own homes. The ducks started to sing, Ole, 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 pond is a home, pond is a home. And the birds started to sing, Ole, 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 trees are a home, trees are a home. And the rabbits started to sing, Ole, 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 hole is my home, hole is my home. All the animals were singing and dancing in the jungle, and Lizard was happy to sing and dance on her little rock. That's the end of my story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renu. I think we're all going to be singing that song, even. Thank you very much for the gift of your story. And our next story is from Jane, who will be sharing the story of the pond monster.
Well, oh, there. In 1957 or 1958, it was a recession, an economic recession. And we were driven out of the hills and down to North Sacramento in California for my parents to look for work. Now, my sister and I was about 8, and she at that time would have been about 6. And we were little girls, but we had had quite an adventurous life. We had lived in Brazil and come back a couple of years before. And to us, the world was new. We were new to the world, and the world was new to us. And so many amazing things came before us. We met things we never dreamed of meeting. And it all seemed normal. That was life. Well, in our little neighborhood, in came some big bulldozers and earth movers, and they dug out the little creek and created a pond. And it had a little island in the middle, and men came and built a little bridge over to the island. We were very excited to have such a wonderful park right near our home. It didn't take long, and children started to say, "There's a monster in the pond." And word went out through the neighborhood like wildfire. And soon enough, children were saying, "There's an alligator in the pond." And I heard that and went to my mother and said, Mom, guess what? There's an alligator in the pond." And she said, "Really? Well, that's very interesting. And how do you know this?" And I said, "Well, because the other kids have told us." And she said, "Oh, have they?" So then it was my job to go and really look for that alligator. And I spent a lot of time looking around the pond. One day, across the pond, there was a little wake of ripples. And in front, there were 2 little knobs, and it went down and came up into a space like this. It was the head of an alligator, and it was swimming across the pond, and the ripples were making a V out behind it. And I went straight home. Mom, I saw the alligator. There's an alligator in the pond." And she said, "Really? Well, that's very interesting." And I said, "Mom, you have to come see it. You have to come see it." So she gathered up Karen and I, and off we went to the park to watch for the alligator. Now, Karen and I had our fair share of Tarzan movies under our belts by this time. And we had seen Tarzan wrestling with alligators the size of a small Volkswagen. And we were cautious and terrified. An alligator that big could come and get us at any time. How could we play in the park? We needed our mom to help us. So we walked along the edge of the pond. We walked here and looked through the reeds, and we walked there, and we went over the little bridge to the island. And there we were on the island when, wouldn't you know it, there came the ripples in the water, and the knobs in the front and the bulge in the back, just where those nostrils from an alligator would be, and just where those eyes of an alligator would be. And my mom saw it too. So then we knew it was real. There was an alligator in the pond in North Sacramento. But then the alligator flipped and went down, and its long tail, a very bare, thin little tail that was right behind its eyes. And it wasn't an alligator. It was a muskrat. And the muskrat's little head looked like where the nostrils would be on a big alligator. And the muskrat's little fat bottom, where it floated up above the water, looked just like where an alligator's eyes would be. So we learned that it's good to be very observant and skeptical when you hear a wild tale. The end.
Oh, thank you, Jane. And just so you know that I guess we all have stories like that are along those lines, right? The things that the kids tell us about. And word is, as of a couple of years ago, by the Moraga Park, there is a creek, and I know that's true, but they also say there's an alligator in it. So if you want to go and check. So thank you so much. And our next story is from Bobby with the next installment for the Good Luck Dragon.
Hello, thank you. It could be an alligator, but it isn't. This is a story about the lonely dragon. But first, to summarize, I'm making a case that the dragon shaped China. And the reason this happened is because the farmers loved the dragon. In our first story I told you, it was about Pangu, who created China with his body laid on his mother. And then my second story was about a dragon that he had created and a um, firebird, phoenix. And they found this lovely stone and they made a moon out of it that glowed. But the mother of the West, who a long time ago was a dragon, stole it. And they went down to get it, but it fell off and it fell down to earth and it fell in this river and a little chunk fell out, a little tiny piece. And so men came by. He was a boy that had no money and he gathered sticks and he found this and he took it home. He found the magic in it. Well, thieves came. He swallowed it and he became the dragon of the Min River and provided fish, eels, shrimp, and whatever, and water for the people. So everybody liked the river dragons. And then I told you a story about the sky dragon that fell down and left a big pond, and all the villagers were very happy and honored him. Well, tonight I'm going to tell you about the earth dragon. And a long, long time ago, this is an ancient China. I even think before they were dynasties, it was. I'm trying to build a case about this. Miling, a young lady, a young girl, lived in this very, very poor village. And they had a lake, but it dried up. And they had a river that came down this huge mountain, but it dried up. And on the top was this dragon. And he would bellow and holler, and his steam would come down the mountain and rocks, and the villagers were very much afraid of him. And they told their children to never, never go up, never talk to the dragon because he might get them. Well, grandma of the village said, no, no, no. We need to honor that dragon. He's lonely and he wants respect. Well, it so happened that the New Year's was coming up. It's the beginning of the year. And on that particular day, all birthdays are celebrated. So grandma went over to Naling and she said, we don't have a lot, but if you want to invite anybody, do it. She says, I'm going to invite the dragon. And the grandmother gave her a hug and she said, good luck. So the next morning she saw her mother and father and she says, I'm going to invite the dragon on the mountain. And the dad said, don't you dare, daughter dearest. He might eat you and paw you and tear you to pieces. And she just walked by him and she said, I'm going to do it anyway. So she started out, and it was a steep mountain. There were jaggedy rocks, and the roots had grown all over them. And she was huffing and puffing and making a lot of noise. And all of a sudden, there was this big yell, big bellow, and steam came down. And she heard this voice: "Alone I live, alone I roar. I am sad forevermore." And it scared her so badly, she fell down the mountain and ran home. Well, she waited a couple of days later and she said, Grandma, I'm going to do it. And Grandma do it. And Grandma gave her a nice big hug. And Elaine started out and she got 2/3 up the mountain over these rocks and these stones and these roots. And she tripped again. And all of a sudden she heard through the steam that was coming down, alone I live, alone I cry, friendless and sad until I die. Well, that saddened her, but she just stumbled down the mountain real fast. She was also scared again. Well, a couple of days later, it was time for the birthday party. And the grandmother said, "Are you going to invite anybody?" And she said, "Yes, I'm going to do it. I'm inviting that dragon." So very carefully this day, very silently, very slowly, she walked up the mountain, not tripping, not moving anything. And when she got up there, she saw the dragon. You know, he was pretty. He was a orangey green dragon, big face, his tail. And he's looking down at the village, and he had tears in her eyes. And she went, and he looked at her, and he was startled, and he jumped, and his tail wiggled around, and he says, "Who has courage and can face doubt? Who visits me?" And she bowed, and she said, "My name is Minlu, and we're having a birthday party, and I know you have a birthday, so you have to come and celebrate with us." Well, he cried and cried so much, and he just couldn't believe it. And he said, "You're so brave." And then he looked down, he had created this puddle around her, and he said, "Climb on my back. My tears are going to get us there." So as they slid down the mountain in this puddle of water, and more water was streaming afterwards, it became very clear, very fresh. And by the time they got down, the river, the stream had started to fill up this lake that used to be there. And all the villagers who had their food, their rice out on the rocks just stood there. They just could not believe it that this lake had filled up. And then all of a sudden down the stream came a dragon. And guess who was on it? Minlu. And the dragon came up to the beach, and the people pulled back, and Minlu bowed to them, and she had her hand on the dragon, and she said, "This is our new friend. He's going to be the birthday dragon." And they all kind of looked, and she said, "No, he wants to be our friend. He needs respect and honor." So they all bowed to him very carefully, and they actually even patted him. And then from that day on, they had their lake and their stream that came down the mountain. And every year from that time on, the birthday dragon comes and he dances in the parade. And now they have fireworks go off. And so that's my premise, that dragons started building up the communities. Well, in these communities were very greedy men, and they became landlords, and they would keep the farmers and say that they own the land. And then this started to grow and grow and grow, which will bring us to our next episode, because these landlords said that they were the dragons and they wanted the honor just like the other dragons had, the sky, the earth, and the river dragons. And thank you so much for listening. It was a pleasure.
Bobby, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I love the way the stories resonate with each other when we hear them all together. And it was making me think a lot of the tiger's whisker in particular, that the way that they kind of, these connections, that run through the different stories. So thank you again. And for our final story of the night, Patty will share with us how the rooster got his job.
Unmute myself. Am I audible? Okay. So, good evening to all of you. This is a story that I wrote recently for an event, so I'm going to share it with you. I've titled it How the Rooster Got His Job. Well, this story begins in a forest, the jungle that you see right behind me. In the jungle lived all the animals in great peace and harmony, and they were led by their king, the lion. However, they were facing intense summer, and they had run out of water. The only river that ran through the forest had dried up, and there was no other source of water. And it was all because the people in the surrounding areas, the humans, had invaded their territory. The forest had shrunk, and so the animals were in a distress. The king, the lion, had an idea that he would seek the help of the wise old owl, and so he went looking for her, and then at last he found her perched on a tall tree. He asked her, "Madam Owl, kindly help me. You know what the problem we are all facing. Give us a solution." The wise old owl thought for some time. Now that you remind me of this, I am reminded of a song that my great great grandma used to sing. And in that song, I'm sure you will find your answer. And so the owl sang the song. In the jungle green and deep, before the sun rays peep, a special drop will fall from the sky. You can catch it if you try. Every morning at daybreak, before the world is awake, keep your eyes wide open. Don't let this drop get stolen. One who gets this magical drop, make a wish and it will pop. Whatever you wish and for you seek will be granted just before you speak. And that's what she said. Now, this set all the animals in great thought. The hare came running. Madam Owl, I have a doubt. This magical drop that you speak of, where will it fall? Will it fall on me? Will it fall here? There? Where? Then the owl said, that, my dear friend, is the tricky part. The dewdrop can fall anywhere, but be aware that it will touch the person who is awake at the break of dawn. And be ready with a wish to make that will bring good to all, she said. Now this news about this magical dewdrop that is going to fall and someone who can catch it spread through the forest like wildfire. All the animals were excited. There was a great chatter. They all gathered under the sky in an opening, and everyone was discussing only this. Secretly, some of the animals thought to themselves. Like, for example, the leopard thought, if ever the dewdrop were to come to me, I would ask it to give me platters and platters of meat so I would not have to hunt for a single day. And then there was this peacock who thought, I would want to continue to be the most beautiful bird in the whole world. And there was the hare who thought, I would want to win the world record for the fastest runner, not the cheetah anymore. And so it went on, except for the lion, who sincerely wished that there would be good times back in the forest and all his subjects would live in harmony. Suddenly, it was the monkey. Hey! Listen up, all of you! Quieten down. I have a suggestion. Look, we have to catch the dewdrop. So we got to stay here tonight. And the best thing to do is not fall asleep. So, why don't we party? This struck as a brilliant idea to everybody. Yeah, let's party, they all thought. And so the food was brought, the drinks came by, and the music began, and so did the dancing. Quack, 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 quack. It went on and on and on. They partied all night long. And by midnight, everyone was exhausted. Slowly, one by one, they found them drooping away. They all fell asleep. It must have been some time later that the rooster got up suddenly, feeling very uncomfortable. He was accustomed to perching up on his favorite tree, and today he found himself sleeping amongst all his friends on the ground. He was still groggy with sleep. He tried to find his way to the tree, and unwittingly he tread on the fat pig that was fast asleep. The rooster was terrified. He jumped out of his skin. His heart beat 1,000 to a minute. He was so afraid, and then because he was very angry too. He thought to himself, oh, how I wish I had a big voice, sounding voice that will wake everyone up. And as soon had he told that, what happened was, is that me? Was that me? But all my life, myself and my hens and my chick have only clucked. But how could this be? Let me try it again. Oh! And his noisy crow had woken up all the animals just as he had wished for. And then came the lion. Rooster, what is the matter? Is something wrong with you? Are we in some danger? What was that sound? The rooster hung his head in shame because he had realized what had happened. My lord, forgive me. I made a wish that I get a scary voice that would wake the whole world up. But little did I realize that the dewdrop had already fallen on me because it was the break of dawn and I was the only one awake. The lion was furious. You silly bird, of all the wishes, all you could think of was only a big voice? How selfish of you! All the animals gathered around and they did not approve of the rooster's choice in making a wish. So it was decided that the rooster and his family had no place in the jungle. And so they walked out clucking. And they reached a nearby village where they were surprisingly welcomed. They were given a shed to live in and they were provided grains to eat. And so they had found a home. Now the rooster thought, for all the good things that I've been receiving from these kind-hearted people, I must prove to be useful. I must serve a purpose. I must show that I can do things for them. And so, from the very next day, at the crack of dawn, at 5 a.m., and that is how the rooster found his job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a whole world in your voice. Thank you very much. And also, I've been thinking it gives a whole new meaning to the expression, be careful what you wish for. But thank you so much for sharing your story and your many, many wonderful animal voices with us tonight. And I think, Liz, you have the, yeah. So I'll hand the floor over to Liz, yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, wow, what an evening. Just absolutely delightful, and bringing us together from near and far. And, I just want to, we are so lucky to be your hosts and have the space to invite you. And thank you so much, Alicia. From the beginning to the end. And thank you to a special thank you to Patty for coming for the first time. And please come back. Oh goodness, Shelley is just joining, one of our regulars. But our next meeting will be July 24th. 5th. I actually will be I'll be out of the country, so I'll miss it. But as we said at the beginning, tell your friends, or if you want to rewatch any of these wonderful stories, they will be. Oh, were you able to do that post, Dana? Anyway, we'll
I'll
get
post it now.
Yeah, we'll get it on there. But so with this, we'll formally end our evening and stop the recording. And then anybody who wants to hang around for a few minutes. So thank you, everybody, for coming. It was just lovely.
I'll have to leave now.